Good evening and welcome to boring unboxing, setting the table, and fitting airbag cables where they don't really belong. However, the first step in replacing the window regulator is to lower the window to about halfway down, rather a bit lower than higher. If you are working on a door with an airbag, go ahead and disconnect the battery. It will be about 15 minutes before we actually get to the airbag. Now remove and unhook the window switch, or in this case, the driver's door module. There is a screw hidden behind this cap, and you need a T20 bit to remove it. On the front doors, there is another Phillips screw hidden behind the vent flap. Door panel now has to come off. Pry it off with a plastic tool around side and bottom edges. Make sure you've got all the rivets out. When it's all loose, lift it up and push the door handle through it. Now release the panel from its cable bounds. We have the door module, pedal light, memory buttons, and the speaker cable. Since I'm working on the front door, I need to remove the speaker. There are two more connectors to unplug and 3 Phillips screws to be undone. Airbag is held by 3 10mm bolts and the connector is a bit different, just don't unplug it by force. Place the airbag facing up, somewhere safe. When we unhook the door handle, we can move on to the vapor barrier. The previous owner said that the window regulator has been replaced in the past, and I can see that the barrier has been re-glued, and it looks like they used some type of silicone. The next two bolts to unscrew, but not necessarily remove, are here and here. Those two hold brackets together, just undo them a bit so that the glass is loose. Next task is to remove this trim piece. Initially it's a bit stiff, but later gives out easily. Now we will take out the glass, but before you do that, think where are you going to put it. Hold it firmly, obviously, and lift it out of the door. Finally, we can remove the window regulator. It is held by 3 Phillips screws on the top and 2 more 10mm bolts at the bottom. When you've done them all, wiggle the entire assembly out. Don't forget to unplug the connector for the motor. Let's fast forward the unboxing part and see what we've got. I've had good experience with parts from Fevi, but this one is clearly different than the old one. But when taking a closer look, it seems that it's the old part that was on the cheap side. I can see that the window brackets look much better, and in the door I found a part that resembles to this one here. When comparing with the old regulator, it looks like a big part of metal is missing. In any case, the motor from the old part needs to be transferred to the new part. It is held by 5 screws, well, only 4 in my case. This aftermarket part must have been really cheap. The new regulator is designed for 5 screws, but the old ones didn't fit. So I can't tell you exactly which socket to use. I bought some M5 screws and appropriate nuts that work just fine. In with the new regulator. Make sure you remember how it goes in. The motor should be on the top right position. Screw in the bottle bolts by hand, but keep them loose for now. We got 3 screws to fasten the regulator from the top, and then loosen the 2 screws that hold the brackets tight. Now is a great chance to clean the glass and then carefully insert it back into the door. Make sure it's not going to fall. Now insert it firmly into both brackets and then tighten the screws. Obviously don't go crazy tight here. To test the regulator, reconnect the battery. This might however trick the airbag light since it's still disconnected on this door. Then just temporarily attach the switch or module and test the regulator. You can also put the key in the accessory position and then test again. Finally, reconnect the motor and do the final test. Success! Now cycle the window up and down a couple of times so that it sits well into its place. Only then tighten all the screws on the brackets and the bottom 2 bolts on the regulator. Now we get into a bit of a sticky situation as we need to glue back the vapor barrier. This is more important than it may seem as it prevents leaking any rainwater inside the car. Such water can cause rust, or on this model also weird electrical problems, since there is a fuse box underneath the front passenger seat. I'm using a self-adhesive butyl tape, which is the proper stuff to use. Pass the vapor barrier firmly onto the tape, and if you forget to pass through the door handle and airbag cable, at least fish them through the crack that is meant for them. Disconnect the battery one last time before reconnecting the plug. Once you've reattached the airbag and the speaker, as well as reconnect all the wires, put back the door panel. Do not force it into place. If you feel resistance, the rivets need to be realigned. Just a few final twists, plugs, and love taps, and you're done with another repair done properly.